Hello there. Thank you for joining us on NAPTIP On The Move. I'm Angela Agbegi. This edition brings you diverse activities of the agency geared towards ensuring a human trafficking and violence-free nation. We start with a recent training by officials of the International Justice Mission and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children for officers of NAPTIP and other law enforcement agencies. Take a look.
The 5-day training by the International Justice Mission Center to end online sexual exploitation of children in partnership with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, funded by META for officials of NAPTIP, EFCC, Interpol and the Federal Ministry of Justice, was flagged off by the Director General of NAPTIP, Dr. Fatima Waziri Azi.
Let me start by thanking the IGM team for making this training a reality. A conversation which started in July has culminated to today. So I thank the team from IGM, from NECMEC, from META for being here and for preferring their time and resources to help strengthen NAPTIP's effectiveness in coordinating efforts to combat online child exploitation. And NAPTIP is also working with NECMEC through its global partner META. And this collaboration has granted NAPTIP access to the Cyber Tip Line case management portal with millions of records on child sexual exploitation and other online related crimes. Now, Section 17 of the Trafficking in Persons Prohibition Enforcement and Administration Act of 2015 as reenacted empowers NAPTIP to investigate and prosecute cases of child sexual exploitation. And it categorically states that any person who procures, recruits, uses or offers any person under the age of 18 years for the production of pornography or for pornographic performances is liable on conviction to imprisonment for a term of not less than 7 years and a fine of not less than 1 million naira. Now, as we can see, this is a very serious, crime under our act. But again, this is an area, as we all know, is extremely difficult and complex to prosecute and perpetrators difficult to apprehend. We are currently investigating a few cases of child online exploitation. A case in point is one of sextortion, where a child was catfished and deceived into sharing some lewd photos of herself. We also recently apprehended a young man, same case of sextortion. So this is, a new terrain for us. And at NAPTIP, we are seeing incremental cases of child online exploitation and sextortion. And building our capacity is something that we must do and keep doing if we intend to curb this crime, which is why we are particularly happy and excited about this collaboration, because this training is something we need to enable us do our jobs effectively, as well as boost productivity and scale our output.
Concluding her speech, she urged the participants to use the opportunity to enhance their skills.
In June, we set up a cybercrime task team in partnership with META. We launched the Amber Alert program on Facebook and Instagram to help find missing children, making Nigeria the second country in Africa with the Amber Alert program and the 29th country in the world to have one. To enhance our interagency collaborative efforts, we felt it was important to be inclusive, which was why we extended an invitation to Interpol, NCB, EFCC, and the Federal Ministry of Justice. Therefore, this is an opportunity to strengthen your existing skills and learn new one. Please take advantage of the presence of our very experienced trainers. My team and I look forward to a mutually beneficial partnership, one which will be long-term and impactful.
The technical advisor, International Justice Mission, Brandon Kapwiki, led the team of experts, including officials from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children and META. Founder of Pathfinders Justice Initiative, a non-governmental organization, Yvonne Benson Idahosa, was also present to share information from the perspective of the NGO, while officials of UNODC were in attendance. As the opening ceremony came to an end, the training began in earnest. The 5-day training was intensive and highly informative. In appreciation of the enormous transfer of knowledge and skills, the Director General of NAPTIP, Dr. Fatima Waziri Azi, presented souvenirs to the trainers. This was followed by a presentation of certificates on the next day to participants.
The experience throughout these 5 days has been worth a while, and I've gained a lot of experience, and I actually want to say kudos to the organizers of this program, especially the DG NAPTIP who facilitated this program, and also the facilitators. We've learned new tips. What I'm taking back is the experience, access to NIMEC case assessment profile, case management profile, and also to go back to my unit and then replicate what I have learned so that the idea could spread within my unit.
Good day. It was a very personal experience for me. The presenters and the experts did excellently well. They brought on their full hands-on presentation. The models delivered were very teachable. They actually taught and not lectured. I am going away with so many tools that I never even knew existed that would help my job more faster than it already was doing. I hope that the next phase comes soon and we would be able to collaborate more with NAPTIP, especially to rescue the very vulnerable victims in this case.
I learned a lot, and it has opened my horizon on a lot of aspects. The expert I'm in ICT, I realized I know few, but now with what I've gathered here, I had enough skill now. I want to use this medium to thank the DG for this wonderful training, for facilitating it, and for making us available for it.
Training and collaboration of this nature is a positive step and indeed a major boost in rescue and recovery of missing children, as well as curbing cybercrime in Nigeria.
You can see that NAPTIP is not relenting in the use of technology to combat cybercrimes. Moving on, the agency recently inaugurated another state task force. Which state? Let's find out.
The National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, with support from the International Organization for Migration, IOM, inaugurated the State Task Force on Human Trafficking in Ilorin, Kwara State. The NAPTIP team, led by Olubi Olushayo, representative of the Director General, first paid a courtesy visit to the Deputy Governor of Kwara State, His Excellency Kayode Alabi, and then proceeded for the formal inauguration at the conference hall of the Deputy Governor's office. In attendance were the members of the task force, including the Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice of Kwara State, Senior Suleiman Ibrahim, who is the chairman of the task force, and officials of the International Organization for Migration. The Kwara State Task Force on Human Trafficking is the 22nd state task force to be inaugurated by NAPTIP and the 23rd so far. The state task forces on human trafficking is premised on the need to enhance state and non-state multi-sectoral response towards combating human trafficking in Nigeria.
NAPTIP has intensified efforts to ensure transparency in its operations. The agency developed a code of conduct on anti-corruption and was recently commended by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, for its phenomenal performance. This report will tell you more.
The management of NAPTIP were recently sensitized on management support for Anti-Corruption and Transparency Unit, ACT2, by an official of the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, Olayinka Ayegbayo, who commended NAPTIP on behalf of the Commission for the remarkable performance.
Professor Bolaji Obasanjo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, asked me to express his goodwill and well wishes to the Director General and the entire management of the agency. He asked me to commend the agency for the new tone that is going on here, particularly with the renewed vigor and activity of the Anti-Corruption and Transparency Unit of your organization, which you have enabled to happen. We are aware that you are just about a year old, but a lot of things that has happened is worthy of noting and also commending. But much more commendable is the report of the Ethics and Integrity Compliance Scorecard of Ministries, Department of and Agencies of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This is 2020, this is 2021. In 2020, NAPTIP, out of 352 agencies, was number 168. Amazingly, and that's what the chairman wants us to talk about, and so commendably, the same NAPTIP a year after now came 18 out of 360. We have more agencies. It's a quantum leap up. So I think it is something that we are commending.
Reiterating the agency's commitment, the Director General, Dr. Fatima Waziri Azi, said that the agency will continue to put checks and balances.
We must continue to put checks and balances in place and also focus on reducing opportunities of corruption. Since December, we inaugurated our ACTUs. We also developed our own anti-corruption code of conduct. We are also working on training staff on the provisions of the code of conduct. I think this is what, in our own space that we are trying to do, and also create that awareness so that staff will know that this is what we've put in place. These are the checks, these are the balances, and everyone must do what they need to do.
Speaking on management support for ACT2's mandate in the workplace, Olayinka Ayegbayo highlighted the mandate of ICPC, the role of ACT2 in promoting accountability and transparency in the workplace, membership of ACT2, and so on. The session was interactive as directors of the agency made contributions and observations that will enhance the Anti-Corruption and Transparency Unit. In a related development, the agency organized a 5-day training and sensitization for officers on the NAPTIP Code of Conduct on Anti-Corruption at the agency's Training Resource Center. The chairman of the Anti-Corruption and Transparency Unit, Dr. Ebele Olasi, welcomed the participants, while the Director, Training and Manpower Development, Arinze Orakwe, delivered the opening remarks on behalf of the Director General of NAPTIP.
Reforms under anti-corruption and code of conduct is one, because it speaks to our content and character. It speaks to the day-to-day activities in the agency and as an organization. It also brings on the efforts of performance in our day-to-day operational activities in whatever we do. It is an attempt to standardize operation, and it's no longer business as usual. This workshop and this training is a priority for the agency because it's going to set out a template of performance, a template of conduct going forward.
The resource person from the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, Adebayo Obani, made a presentation on the overview of the ICPC Act. Act 2 Standing Orders, highlighting the history and provisions of the ICPC Act, role of the Anti-Corruption and Transparency Unit, among other topics. Questions, observations and comments raised by the participants were duly addressed by the ICPC official. At the end of the 5-day training, the chairman of Act 2, Dr. Ebele Olasi, urged the participants to put in practice the knowledge they have acquired and commended the Director General for the initiative.
I am delighted to reiterate that a rare precedent has not only been introduced, but set in the annals of the agency's history with this just concluded 5-day maiden training and sensitization program on NAPTIP Code of Conduct and Anti-Corruption. The achievement of this enviable dream wouldn't have been possible if not for the strong support and passionate quest of our ingenious and assiduous Director General to reposition the agency and its personnel for administrative and operational best practices as it is in other climes. The moral change that the participants have imbibed shall exude effervescent rays that will keep corrupt practices in the agency at bay. I therefore urge you participants to endeavor to sustain the rekindled anti-corruption light in all official and unofficial dealings to make not only our workplace but the society at large very conducive and better places to live.
The Act 2 training is an ongoing exercise to ensure transparency in the operations of NAPTIP.
Your attention, please.
Are you a travel agent? Or do you plan to travel abroad for work, school, professional sports activities or school excursion? Are you worried about incessant reports of human trafficking and unjust practices? NAPTIP is here to help. The Standard Operating Procedure for International Recruitment, recently launched by the federal government and relevant agencies, and NAPTIP's Regulation 2019, ensures that proper vetting is conducted and a clearance certificate issued by NAPTIP so that your mind is at rest when you travel. Avoid irregular migration and falling victim of human trafficking. Regular and safe migration is possible. For more information, log on to tipclearance.naptip.gov.ng. This message is brought to you by NAPTIP with support from the International Organization for Migration.
Our next events are courtesy visits by a delegation from the Canadian High Commission and officials from the German Development Agency, GIZ. Keep watching.
A delegation from the Canadian High Commission, led by the Migration Program Manager, Marjorie Lubin, paid a courtesy visit to the Director General of NAPTIP, Dr. Fatima Waziri Azi. The team briefed the Director General on their counter-trafficking and proper migrant management projects in Nigeria, with special emphasis on the project titled NAPTIP On The Move Bus Campaign Against Human Trafficking, being implemented by NAPTIP, with support from the ARC Group and funding from the Canadian government. They also sought other areas of collaboration with the agency. Welcoming the Canadian delegation, the DG NAPTIP expressed appreciation to the Canadian High Commission for the sensitization project for transport companies, stating that over 500 drivers from 3 transport companies have been sensitized so far, and it is yielding results. She then added that the tenure of the project should be extended to accommodate more stakeholders. The project is in line with the prevention strategy of the agency in its fight against human trafficking. In a related development, the Director General of NAPTIP, Dr. Fatima Waziri Azi, recently received a delegation from the German Development Agency, GIZ. The leader of the delegation, Gertjan de Gruyter, outlined GIZ's interventions and projects in Nigeria and sought to collaborate with NAPTIP in the fight against human trafficking. Responding to the GIZ delegation, Dr. Waziri Azi enlightened the team on the agency's mandates and efforts so far, while assuring the team of the agency's willingness to partner with GIZ. Partnership is one of NAPTIP's 5-pronged approach employed in the fight against human trafficking and violence against persons.
NAPTIP recently secured another conviction from the Enugu Zonal Command. This is the 39th conviction and counting for the year 2022. Indeed, NAPTIP is working.
A federal high court sitting in Awka, presided over by Justice Nnamdi Dingba, has sentenced a 21-year-old man, Chinedu Eziozo, for sexually exploiting his sister, which is in contravention of Section 16(1) of the Trafficking in Persons Prohibition, Enforcement and Administration Act 2015. The convict is further made to serve a non-custodial sentence of 7 days of not less than 3 hours daily of intense community service at the Anambra State Command. This conviction brings to a total of 39 convictions and counting for 2022.
Finally, the Director General of NAPTIP, Dr. Fatima Waziri Azi, was a special guest at the Young Women Christian Association's National Council meeting themed Women and the Girl Child in Leadership Roles. Don't go away.
The Director General of NAPTIP, Dr. Fatima Waziri Azi, was a special guest at the National Council meeting of the Young Women Christian Association in Abuja. Based on the theme for the meeting, Women and the Girl Child in Leadership Roles, Dr. Waziri Azi advised young women on leadership.
You have to do what you need to do so that you can eventually do what you want to do. That is how you take leadership. And what does that mean? It just means committing to a good education, getting, good grades in school, working hard at your studies, and just generally being a decent and a kind person. There's so far you can get to in life with intellectual intelligence, but what will take you further in life is emotional intelligence, is being a decent person, and is being a kind person. And that is what I believe every individual should focus on. And you must have clarity of purpose. What do you want to do? What do you want to be? And commit and work towards that purpose that you have in a life. And always invest in yourself. Just read books that will grow your character. Don't spend hours and hours on social media doing things that will not add value to you. Be dependable, always sure, and stay faithful to your routine. For all the young women here, we always say, give us a place at the table, give us a place at the table. But when you eventually get a seat at the table, do not forget to use your voice.
Goodwill messages were delivered by other guests present, while the National President, Temilade Gbolahan, charged the women to be steadfast in prayers.
The theme of this year National Council meeting is Women and Girls in Leadership Roles. For the upcoming ones in the association, especially our youth, I implore you to inculcate the good leadership character, norms and attitude. It will add great value to your lives and make you affect your generation positively. My speech will not be completed without calling on every one of us to intensify our prayer for our country, Nigeria. As a Christian association, we cannot but pray about everything that is affecting our nation.
Professor Mabel Ewerioma delivered a lecture on the role of women and girl child in leadership. The Young Women's Christian Association is a non-governmental organization dedicated to the empowerment of the community, especially women, youth, and children. For more inquiries and support, or to report cases of suspected human trafficking, violence against persons, and child abuse, please call NAPTIP hotline 0703 0000203 or the short code 627, or email us info@naptip.gov.ng. Visit our website www.naptip.gov.ng. Follow us on our social media platforms at NAPTIP Nigeria or watch our videos on YouTube.
It's obvious that NAPTIP is not resting on its oars. The agency is consistently breaking new grounds, devising strategies and innovations to ensure the fulfillment of its mandate. I must thank you for keeping this date with us. Do join us again next week. I'm Angela Agbegi. Goodbye.